Hi, you guys. How's it going? My name is Bear. Thank you for coming to the Odinic School of Mysteries. So, I'm sorry that these videos have been a little bit scattershot lately. And I understand that normally I'm pumping out, I think I average about 2 videos a week, maybe 3, depending on the week. But, anyone with kids will know that freaking summers are a madhouse. And so it's been hard. But that is actually not even really the primary reasons why I haven't been able to do this. The primary reason I haven't been able to produce as much content is because on the back end of everything, things are moving and shaking. So there is another Odinic School initiate who wants to get involved, which is fantastic. His name is Jason, and we're going to start having some long-form conversations where we just sit around, we talk for an hour or two, and we're probably going to do that about every week, maybe every 2 weeks. Just kind of depends on his schedule and how that works out. He is also going to produce a lot of health and wellness stuff. The mysteries are like a vast library, right? And really all I feel like I'm capable of doing in this format is simply walking through the library and just pointing at books and saying, oh, look, that book exists. Isn't that cool? Isn't that neat that book exists? And you can't learn it all. And a lot of Jason's background is in yoga, breathing techniques, meditation, a lot more of the physical body side of the mysteries, maintaining health and that kind of stuff. He's actually someone who's helped me lose a great deal of weight so far. If you've kept track, you've probably noticed that I was a great deal heavier in the first videos I started versus now. You could notice my face is thinning up quite a bit and stuff, and that's because he's helped me with a lot of that stuff that I was missing. There's a whole side of the mysteries that I'm not an expert in, and so he's going to be able to bring that to the table. So that's going to be really great. So look forward to that. His name is Jason. He's an awesome guy, and that'll be good. I'm also building out a website, and that also takes a lot of time. I am not technologically inclined at all. I had a Facebook account for a while, and I quit because it was too stressful to figure out how to use it. But I've been forcing myself to learn because that's just where people are nowadays. And so it's going to be exciting. We're going to have... hang on. I forgot to put this on airplane mode. There we go. So the website is going to have articles you could read. Someone I know is going to produce, she's a really good writer, and she's going to produce some devotionals and that kind of thing. They're called the Fairy Myths. They're fantastic. Jason, of course, will probably be putting up some articles and some videos there. There's going to be a full video archive of everything I've done so far will be on there. Things like reading lists, which is one of the most common questions I get asked since starting the YouTube channel, is people really want a reading list of books to read and things that I recommend. I'm also going to include watch lists or playlists. I don't know how to do that yet. A lot of things I'm saying I'm going to do. I know there's a way to do it. I just don't know how. So it's a work in progress. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on behind the scenes that's taking up some time. I really appreciate you sticking with me so far, that you're not running off and saying, oh, he's gone AWOL. But yeah. So one of the what was I going to say? Yes. So today is the Q&A for the first week of August, August the 1st through the 7th. And there is only one questioner. Only one person asked a question. So congratulations, Mr. Linux Noob. You are the official questioner of this video. This whole episode is dedicated to you. Congratulations. You're on it. So let's go to his question. All right. Mr. Linux Noob's question states, you ever wonder if we're inside a giant person? Like, not so much the thought of one, but the cells and stuff. As in the whole universe to us would be like the microorganisms in its body. I had that thought around 25 years ago, and it's made me wonder. So, come back to my camera here. I am not quick at these. Okay. There's a, Jason, that is actually a really fantastic question. And short answer is yes. Actually, I have thought of that. And it was a pretty general, even though it probably wasn't expressly put as eloquently as you just stated. There was an idea that the universe, all the stars and galaxies and all that stuff out there was a part of, were the organs and parts of some great god. What that god was, what it did, how it acted, no one really knew. It was just kind of an understanding. There was a there's something that all the mystery schools kind of understood, and that was that that man himself was created in the image of God. And this goes all the way back to like the mysteries of Eleusis and Egypt and so on and so forth. You know, the further back you go, I mean, it's still there, that idea that man was created in the image of God. And the principle, sorry, I got mustache hair that's not cooperating. So the idea of as above, so below, and you know, I've talked about this a number of times on this channel, that it is misunderstood to meaning bringing hell to earth. That is what a lot of people think it means, and that's not what that principle means. The principle of as above, so below refers to the fractal nature of the universe. How if you have an atom, for example, and it has an energy core, something that produces the energy, and then you have these electrons that create these bodies that surround the energy source. Then you can move on to a cell, for example, and you have a cell with a nucleus on the inside, an energy source, and these little organs that kind of surround it. And then you have, we'll say a human body. We'll just jump up to a human body. And we'll say a human body has a center power source. It is a heart that generates an electromagnetic field, and then it has all these organs that surround it. And then you go, you know, to a planet, we'll say Earth. You know, most planets have a core of some kind. If they're not just a floating rock, but they're a functioning planet, a living planet. That's good stuff. So the core has a magnetic field, an energy source, and then you have all the organs and stuff, or at least the things you could count as organs, surrounding it. There was actually an interesting, I don't remember if it was a video or an article I came across, and I don't even remember who authored it now, but they were explaining how the Earth could qualify as something that's alive, a living body, because you have to have, there's like certain qualifications to meet to be considered a living organism: circulatory system, energy source, and the Earth could be you could look at it and think that it's probably an organism. That's neither here nor there. And then you have a solar system, right? You have a center power source of the sun or suns, and then you have the organs and the planets that kind of surround it. And you're kind of, really, when you get to the solar system level, you're kind of back to basically what an atom is. And then you bump out to, we'll say, like a galaxy, and it still has a center power source, but now we're kind of back to a cell, right? You could look at, if you look at those images of what the millions and millions of floating galaxies out there, they look very similar to the same images we have with cells floating in a petri dish. With each successive step we take, the complexity gets bigger each time. Almost incalculably more complex. Each step the person takes, each step in consciousness, from, we'll say, like even from an atom to a cell, is unbelievably more complex. A cell is unbelievably more complex than the cell is. And the human body is unbelievably more complex than the cell. And the solar system is more unbelievably complex than the human body, and so on and so forth. And even though complexity expands in a manner that is incalculable for a human mind to even wrap itself around, the pattern is always there. The pattern exists. And so the ancients, knowing this and understanding that God created man, and that man represents and is built on the same patterns that God is, even though we know that even though the pattern exists, is still the same. God, whoever it is more infinitely complex than we are, right? So it's not like, we're not trying to say that man is like God, in a pound for pound basis. We're saying that if you understand the pattern, it gives you a way to kind of peek around the curtain a little bit and understand some of the form and functions of God, at least in the ability that our primitive minds can understand. And so, because God was considered like what the Hermeticists would call the all, right? It's the mind for which all things exist within. That is, like, when you get to the ultimate of ultimates, the first cause, the thing that started all things, it was considered this mind. Is the only way that we've ever been able to really adequately explain it in a way that makes sense. And all things exist within the mind. And that mind patterned itself, created us in its pattern. The symbol of man, the symbol of the human body, became known as the symbol of symbols, right? And so all occult symbolism, all of it, from the spear of Gungnir to the all-seeing eye to the Temple of Solomon with the Masons, all of it is always based on the human body on some level. The 7 chakras are based on the human body, which is mirrored by the 7 celestial gods. And in some circles, there's even 9 chakras, which is, and we all know that that 9 is the number of Odin. So the human body became known as the symbol of symbols. So if you just keep following the logic train here, right? So if we were created in the image of God and all things could be explained by observing the patterns of the human body, which is why the mind, the workings of the body, and a well-oiled machine was always so paramount, especially like if you get into yoga and that kind of philosophy, Eastern philosophy systems, the body was incredibly important and very well maintained because it was a mirror of the holy, of the mirror of the divine. And you wanted to become the most adequate vessel you possibly could for being a vessel for something that is divine, which is the real you, the divine you, not the counterfeit you who just exists in slavery here on earth, but the true you that really truly exists out there. And you know, as Jesus said, love others as you love yourself, right? It kind of operates on the same principle. So like I said, so if you follow that logic train out, just start following the patterns as one thing leads to another. It's not a very large leap to believe that if I am me and I exist here and patterns repeat themselves, if a solar system is like an atom and a galaxy is like a cell, there is eventually, if you follow that pattern out, eventually you're going to get to something that is like a human body. And no one really knew what that was or what that looked like. If it was simply mental, if it was a person walking around like us. I mean, we just don't know. We just don't know. So it's kind of one of those things that that's not, how do you say it? It's not really something that could be known in the way that I defined it in a video or two ago. Knowing being something that I've personally experienced. But if you have a knowledge of the patterns, you could say that it wouldn't be particularly surprising if there was some form of something out there that took on a similar form and action that we do, and we live within it somehow. Like on the macro, the micro level, right? Like it's microorganisms. One of the people I consider my teachers, and I talk about him all the time, Mr. Manly P. Hall here. He wrote The Secret Teaching of All Ages and The Secret Destiny of America and a number of other books. One of the things he said that always really stuck with me is that living in a human body is our first opportunity to experience godhood. And one of the things that we're meant to do while we're here is learning how to be good governors of the civilizations and the people that exist within our universe. So, I mean, we're talking about things from gut bacteria to drinking enough water to getting good exercise to maintaining the spirits and all the things that kind of, and the consciousnesses that exist within us. I had said earlier at the beginning, you know, that I've been losing a lot of weight, you know, and there's a lot of reasons for that. You know, one, if I'm gonna teach this shit, you know, I gotta be responsible and do the stuff too, and that really wasn't the main reason. It's something I've been avoiding for a long time, and eventually my teacher just said, do it or progress no further, and so here we go. You know, and my friend Jason, you know, he's been invaluable helping me lose and that kind of thing. But when you realize that all these things in your body have consciousnesses, one of the first things I had to do was cut the sugar and the carbohydrates. I'm on a modified, I guess you'd call it like a modified keto diet. And my naturopath, I go to a naturopath, and one of the things she said that kind of blew my mind is that a lot of the things we crave, we think that we just want it, right? We just really want sweets. Really what we're experiencing is the gut bacteria who feed on the sugar and the carbohydrates. They are the ones that want the sweets. And so they send a signal to your brain that says, I need Pepsi really bad. I need bread really bad. Please send rain, right? Please send carbohydrates. And we in a Western way of looking at it, we just think of it as just biological process, right? But really, if we're something that's smaller, then if we're like a microorganism to something that's bigger, there really isn't much of a difference between our gut bacteria and us. And so really what's happening is you have civilizations of gut bacteria there who are because I'm cutting sugar, they're experiencing this enormous famine, and they're like, please God, please send us sustenance. We're having a famine, we got to have food. And I feel kind of guilty about that, because I'm up here going, nope. I'm not going to send you sugar. And, and eventually the population dies off. And I'm responsible for that. And I know it sounds really dumb framing it in this way when you're talking about just, gut bacteria who want sugar and carbohydrates, but that's something you think about when you start understanding consciousness and the principles of all of this. People don't realize that our bodies, we're a universe of consciousnesses. There is a plurality of different things that are going on inside our body all the time. And we're talking about cells, we're talking about bacteria, we're talking about the little creatures that live in our skin and in our hair, the microorganisms that live in our eyes, just all those little things that we never even think of that exist on us and depend on us for love, life, support, and all of that. We're responsible for making sure that all of those things are well taken care of. We are the gods of our own bodies and our own solar systems and all of that stuff that's in us. And this is one of the, I agree with Manly Hall. I think this is one of our first opportunities to do that, to really sit down and say, okay, how am I as a governor, right? Am I just giving in to the crowd, or am I going to stand fast and make the right decisions? And by that I mean like the gut bacteria wanting toast and jam. And chicken nuggets, those kinds of things. So yeah, it's just one of those things that when you take the time to learn the patterns, and you take the time to sit there and just really look at things from the point of view of a pattern. If I am like this and God is like this, then therefore the same pattern is going to apply when you downshift and go into something smaller than you, right? I am like this, so therefore my gut bacteria, though I don't fully understand it, is also like me. There's an old esoteric saying, I think it might even been Greek. I don't remember who said it. I just know that they did. That all things are in the process of becoming. all things are in the process of becoming. From the sand of the sea, I think maybe it was the Hermeticists. They had all the good ones, but from the sand of the sea to bacteria to stars to you to everything else, everything is in the process of becoming. Everything is on its way back to the source. And whether you're a fish or a person, we're all working our way back to the source. It takes as long as it takes. And so, I mean, that is as good as argument as I could think of for treating yourself well. Because you're not just, like, I was really big on energy drinks. I loved energy drinks. They were sweet, which I liked. I liked cold, sweet drinks. They gave me tons of caffeine. I liked that they're good. They made me feel good. I couldn't get enough of them. But when you look at just the staggering amount of chemicals and the shit they put in there is just unbelievable. And your body has to figure out how to protect itself. I mean, half the reason you gain weight isn't because of the sugar you're ingesting, it's because your body needs the fat to protect itself from all those harsh chemicals. It can't digest it. It doesn't know what to do with it, and it's incredibly harsh on the body, so it takes those chemicals and wraps them up in balls of fat to help protect itself from, the assault of all the freaking chemical nonsense that are in those things. And and when you realize that it's not, it's bad for you, but all those tens of thousands upon millions of consciousnesses, hypothetically, at least that's what we think anyway, of species and things that have to contend with that harsh environment, it really makes you think. It's like, okay, I'm doing this because it makes me feel good, but what kind of God am I? What kind of person am I who is allowing this kind of evil to enter my... I'm being hyperbolic here, but you know what I mean. This kind of evil to enter my universe and ravage my people. And so, at some point you have to take the responsibility and going, okay, I'm going to be a good governor. I got to be a good governor. A good God to my people. And that's kind of hard. It's kind of hard. One of the... There's kind of a tongue-in-cheek... It's not even really tongue-in-cheek. It's just this phrase that it's the curse of knowing. It's the curse of knowing. Once you know something, you are considered responsible for the information. So, meaning you're morally... you're what's the word? You are kind of, the gods kind of give you some leeway if you don't know any better, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So, like, if you don't know any better and you're just doing what you're told and you're eating poorly and you're just sick and you just don't know any better, it's just the way things are, the gods are kind of like, okay, well, you just don't know. You're just the blind god. You're just the god like Hod who murders Balder. Right? You don't know any better. You don't know what you're doing. You're harming others. But because you don't know any better, there's really no... You're just gonna have to figure it out and learn. But once you know, then you are morally responsible for it. And so, once you know and understand that you have all this consciousness that dwells within you, and you're the God who kind of governs all of that, then suddenly you're morally culpable. You're held to a higher standard. Now you know that you're not just an animal and you can't behave as an animal. that there's repercussions to things, that there's other things at play here. There's you're not just harming your body. Your body is literally built on other consciousnesses. Your body is, from cells to atoms to everything else, is all a consciousness. And so we can only hope, right? So where am I going with this? I've been on this for a while. So one can only hope that whatever body, assuming there is one, that is out there that we exist within, isn't drinking the energy drinks, right? That body is taking very good care of itself. It's getting good exercise. It's drinking clean water. And cut on my microphone. And because we wouldn't want that, right? We wouldn't want the God of the universe to be just living off of Cheetos. You know, we want him to be healthy and good, and we want a good environment to live in. We want to thrive and be happy. And it's the same, you know, in my opinion, you know, you gotta take the same tact with your own body. It's like the golden rule. Do unto others that you would want others to do unto you. And you know, I'm in agreement with Mark Passio. Mark Passio is a hero of mine. Check out his content; it's really good. He always says the golden rule in the apophatic. Apophatic means in the negative. You state something in the negative to make a point. So the apophatic version of the golden rule is don't do to others what you do not want done to yourself. See, it's the negative version. Don't harm your body in such a way that you would not want the God of the universe to harm you. Right? And I didn't mean to this to be a video on health and weight loss or anything like that. That's not really the point I was making. It kind of became that on accident, but it's kind of hard to talk about that without talking about the other. So it's that's kind of where we're at. So yeah, Mr. Lake Snoop. Yeah, probably. There probably is some great God out there, and I just hope that whatever that is doing the right thing. Now, I need to say off the bat that does not necessarily mean that whatever that God is the creator of all things. That's the key. And people tend to conflate the two. There's one God and many gods at the same time. The creator of all things exist within it, within its mind. Whatever that great God is that we're talking about, assuming it has a body or some form like that, it doesn't necessarily mean that body is the creator of all things either. There's a lot to there's a lot of complexity in it. I think in the next few days, depending on how things go, I really want to do a video on the first cause, and explain what the monad is and the duad is, because I think a lot of people would get a lot of benefit out of that. A lot of the Gnostic belief about God and a lot of the Pythagorean version of God are very similar, and they had a lot of really similar views to each other. And the Hermeticists had really similar views too. So it'd be really interesting to see, to go through that with you and just kind of explain some of it, because it's really worth your time. And it's as good as explanation as any. We kind of just do the best we can with this stuff. We know that ultimately it's going to be, at best, it's a profound oversimplification. And at worst, it's just kind of helps us discover the truth through, it kind of frames things so that we have something to measure against. And we find the truth that way. So either way, it helps us. There really is, you're going to be hard pressed to find someone in a true mystery school that will absolutely tell you that they have a handle on the truth, because true mystery school initiates know that they have no freaking idea, and we're just doing the best we can. I don't think there's really anything else to say. We covered the stuff in the background that I've been working on. Answered. Got a good 25-minute answer out of that question. Thank you, Mr. Linux Noob, for asking the question. And if you have any questions about what I've talked about or in any past videos, please feel free to comment down below with your question, or you can email me. My email is in the About section of the YouTube channel, index, right? It's in the About section of the YouTube channel index. And we do have a Gab account. I always forget to post there, and we do technically have an Instagram account, but I also forget to post there. I'm not a computer guy, right? So it's not second nature for me to check these things. So I try really hard. I do check my email on a regular basis. If you do want to send me something, feel free. It can take me up to 24 to 48 hours to respond, just because of life and stuff. But awesome. All right. I love you all. Thank you so much for being here, and I really hope you have a great day. Bye.